Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's virtual office hour. My name is Cassandra McGee. I'm a senior program manager with JFF, and we are glad that you carved out some time to join us for today's discussion. As a reminder, this session will be recorded, so if you're not the primary speaker, we do request that you would mute your phone line for best call quality. However, we always welcome your questions, your input based upon today's topic. You can share those insights or those questions or those comments via the chat box, or feel free to wait to our question and answer section. This project is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor Youth Apprenticeship and Intermediaries Project, and is part of JFF's Youth Apprenticeship Works body of work. Our topic today is reaching Generation Z in a virtual world, and our presenters are from our partners, CareerWise, who is partnered with us, and our Youth Apprenticeship Intermediaries Project work funded by the U.S. Department of Labor. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to our presenters today from CareerWise Colorado. Take it away, guys.
Everyone, I am Shauna Harmon. I'm the Senior Manager of Affiliate Marketing at Colorado. I go by she, her pronouns. And in my role, I get to work with marketing and comms and all of our affiliates across the nation. CareerWise started in Colorado. Now we're in a bunch of states across the nation, so I get to work with all of them on marketing. And what we're talking about today is right in line with that, reaching Gen Z in a virtual world. So we, as you all have experienced over the last couple of years, COVID has probably changed the ways that you have recruited from the past. So CareerWise was very pre-COVID. I would say we were very relationally based, one-to-one student recruitment was kind of our focus. So we would be in classrooms, doing presentations. We would have one-on-one time with students in person. So everything was very in-person based. Fast forward to March 2020, when we were in the middle of our student recruitment cycle in 2020, and suddenly we have to go all virtual to try to get all these apprenticeship slots filled in Colorado. And so we had to change a lot of things very quickly. So that is what we're going to talk about today. It's kind of the changes we've been making to really adjust to this more virtual world that we're living in now in these, COVID days over the last couple of years. So if you want to advance to the next slide. So the first thing I would like to talk about is we roll out these school marketing kits every recruitment cycle. So one of the things we realized was schools are busy. Teachers are slammed, admin slammed. So if we can make it easy for them to market our apprenticeships to their students and parents, they will do it. We didn't realize this as much before because we were doing that more one-to-one personal student to one of our recruiters process. So we really rolled these out, starting a couple years ago. So in these marketing kits, we put our easy to access collateral in there. So our one pagers that a teacher can easily print off, hand to a student that they think is interested. We put sample social media posts in there, so easy for their marketing and comms teams. And from a marketing and comms perspective, I love when people give me content that I can just post easy. So we do that. We've seen a lot of our schools jump on board with that, posting for us on their social media channels. We give them PowerPoint announcement slides, PA announcement content, newsletter copy, website copy. So everything is pre-packaged for them, done with the creatives attached to it. So it's just easy plug and play. And we've seen great traction with this. Just a couple weeks ago, Boulder Valley School District sent out a blast in their newsletter about CareerWise apprenticeship. And I run the info box for Colorado right now, email box 2, which is the action step that we were asking them to take, is to reach out if they had questions. And we had such a that box got flooded with parents from Boulder, asking what the opportunities were, how they could get connected, all of that. And so what we just really, really realized was if we give schools the resources, they will use them and send them out. So that was one of our tools that we started really doing when we needed to switch over. You want to advance to the next slide? The second thing is we use a program called Marketing Cloud that connects to our technology platform. So what we call the CareerWise Hub, where students apply. So we have created these email and text messaging marketing journeys. I call them smart journeys because they connect specifically into our hub to see where the student is in the process. So if a student, for example, gets stuck at the very beginning of the process of the profile creation, we send them, a text message that says, thanks for your interest in the CareerWise apprenticeship. You started a profile, but you haven't submitted it yet. Finish it today with like a link that can easily click from their phone to our mobile ready technology platform. So from profile creation to profile submitted, we have a whole marketing journey that gives them different steps. And we also did the data behind it to see where each apprentice was getting stuck the most. So we have a video that they can submit, and we saw a lot of students were getting stuck at that video section. And so we send a specific email to those students stuck at the video section to help them understand how to submit a video. So we're trying to really be smart about what we send students and how we send them. We know that some do check email, but text message is so much easier. So we really utilize text messaging in all of our journeys to get to them that way. And then we have another one set up for them to apply. So this one is really smart because we can see what pathways they're interested in by that technology connection in our hub. And then we send them personalized emails with ready jobs in the email that they can click on to apply on. So really trying to make our email and text message marketing smarter and more personalized has helped us in that area. We were seeing a lot of those students getting stuck in the videos. We would send them the email or the text message, and then like within a couple hours, they will have submitted the video. So we're excited to see at the end of the cycle, like all the data that we can pull out of it. But so far, it's looking like that is really helping push people along. If you want to switch to the next one. So the other thing we had to do right away was switching over to a virtual application assistance because, like I said, it was pretty one-to-one or our classroom to a recruiter before. So we use a program called Calendly, and these actually, with the email and text messaging that I was talking about before, we embed these links into those emails and text messages so they can easily sign up for application assistance and get support that way. So just making it easy that they can, jump on their phone, have a video call with a recruiter. We do this round robin style. So our recruitment team, they just each get one and then it goes around to the next one. So it evenly distributes amongst them. So we use a program called Calendly to just make the calendar connection. And then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mary. Mary is amazing. She's newer to our team. I've been in CareerWise for about 4.5 years. We hired Mary specifically during this time where we were trying to switch over to virtual because I don't know if any of you work specifically on marketing and comms teams or not, but often, especially in a nonprofit world, social media is like the last thing you think about. But with Gen Z, social media is top, right? They are on social media, they're working on it all the time. People are on YouTube. They're saying like 2+ hours per day for Gen Z students. So Mary got hired kind of during this time when we needed someone to really focus on this, and she has done amazing things since she's been here and really helped our engagement in social. So she's going to talk to you specifically about recruitment through social.
All right, well, thanks for that intro, Shauna. And you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. All right, so as Shauna mentioned, hi everyone, my name is Mary. I'm a communications associate with CareerWise, and as part of my job, I do focus on social strategy for CareerWise. So in the next few slides, I'll just be sharing how CareerWise is leaning more into the social world for student recruitment and what platforms and content you can leverage on social media to attract and reach Gen Z. So first things first, you always have to go into social media with a plan, right? So the first step is really knowing your audience. You need to determine who it is you're trying to reach. So since we're talking about student recruitment specifically today, Gen Z and high school students are who we are trying to reach. And then step number 2 is determining which platforms to use. So it can be easy to think that you need to utilize every social media that you have a presence on for student recruitment, but that's not necessarily the case. And not all platforms are widely used by Gen Z. So you may be wondering, how do we determine then what platforms we should be on for student recruitment? So this is simply done just by researching channel demographics, and you can see in the graph there on the slide that based on current demographics, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat are the main platforms that Gen Z is using currently. And then step number 3 is making a plan and setting goals. So before you start posting, you want to make sure the content you want to share is aligned with your business goal. So in this scenario, our goal is to recruit more high school students to become youth apprentices. And since we're aiming to essentially make that conversion for students, we want our social content to focus on conversions. So your call to action in your posts can include things like apply now, or sign up to learn more, pushing students to maybe go sign up for an email or a text list that you have, or here's how to start creating your profile could also be a call to action if that's part of your application process. The goal is really to capture their information. And then the last step is just to track your metrics and adjust accordingly as you roll out your campaign. So with our goal of student recruitment and focusing on conversions, what key metrics do you need to be tracking? So since the goal is conversions, we're going to want to track application completions, apprentice signups. Again, if you have some sort of email list or text list you're driving them to sign up on, or again, profile creations if that's part of your application process. And you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So now that we know what platforms we're going to leverage and what we should measure for success, we can go ahead and start posting. But what type of content should we post? What is best for student recruitment? So on this slide here are 4 different examples of content that CareerWise has been leveraging for student recruitment. And the first is testimonials or endorsements from youth apprentices. So apprentice presence on your social channels that you're leveraging for student recruitment is going to be very important. Prospective youth apprentices want to see content that shows other youth apprentices. They want to really get a legitimate sense for what an apprenticeship is like, and hearing from an actual apprentice really helps create transparency. It builds trust, making them more likely to apply. And so CareerWise utilizes this type of content the most, I would say, on our platforms, and it can come in many different forms. So from apprentice blog posts to graphics of impact quotes from current and past apprentices to video testimonials, there's really many different ways that you can tweak that content. And the platforms then this can be done on, you can do it on Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat. Really, any of those 3 are set up to share this type of content. And then the second type of content is user-generated or influencer content. So CareerWise is in the early stages of this, but we're working towards developing a team of social media influencers that is made up of our current youth apprentices who are social media savvy, and working with them to curate engaging and fun content using their personal social media channels to promote our brand and promote their unique apprenticeship experience. And our goal with this is to hopefully that their Gen Z audience will see it in tandem with the audience that we're reaching on our own channels, and really just help grow that prospective apprentice pool even more. And again, this can be done on either Instagram, Snapchat, or TikTok to reach that Gen Z audience. And then number 3 is hosting an AMA, or also known as an Ask Us Anything or an Ask Me Anything. And as I'm sure you all know, apprenticeship can be a really nuanced topic to people who are on the outside looking in. So especially for a student who is a freshman or sophomore in high school. And AMAs really allow for a real-time dialogue with your audience and shows you what prospective apprentices may have questions on or need more information in order to feel comfortable applying. So think of the FAQs that your organization gets asked a lot about apprenticeship. These are the questions you're going to want to answer in an Ask Us Anything or an Ask Me Anything. And the platform that is best suited for this, I would say, is Instagram Stories specifically because of the question box and poll feature that they have on that platform. But of course, again, it could also be done on TikTok and Snapchat, depending on your comfortability with the apps and bandwidth. And then last but not least is running a social media takeover with a current youth apprentice. So I'm sure you guys love and audiences love behind the scenes content on social. We love that behind the curtain kind of sneak peek. It's engaging, it's fun, it creates transparency around whatever product or service you're trying to encourage your audience to buy into. So last year during National Apprenticeship Week, CareerWise coordinated a social media takeover with 3 of our City of Denver youth apprentices, and they shared their personal day-to-day work life, their personal story on the impact that apprenticeship has had on their post-secondary journey, and also just answer some frequently asked questions around apprenticeship and bust some common myths around apprenticeship. And so again, this can be done on Instagram stories or Snapchat. I would say those are probably the 2 best that are suited for this type of content. However, though, TikTok did recently create a stories feature last month. So I'm sure we'll start seeing a lot more social media takeovers happening on that platform as well. And you can advance to the next slide. All right, so just to wrap up, just some social media pro tips as you all start delving more into student recruitment content. So if you're able to incorporate paid content into your strategy, organic social media content is important for establishing brand voice. However, only a small percentage of your audience will see organic content because platforms are simply saturated with users. So with it being kind of a pay-to-play world, if you have the bandwidth to, it's important to incorporate both paid and organic content. And then second is just leveraging your existing audience. So this ties back in with the influencer marketing that we touched on the last slide. Your existing audiences have already bought into the service that you're selling. So use them. Have them become a brand ambassador, have them do a testimonial piece for you or an endorsement piece that you can share to really help build your brand and endorse your service. And then number 3 is responding to all comments and mentions and being timely. And this might seem kind of obvious, but you don't want to simply broadcast messages to your audiences on social. You really want to encourage a dialogue and create that 2-way conversation. And social media really can be the initial handshake, if you will, of your organization when new audiences find you on social media. So you want to always ensure that it's making a good impression. And then last but not least, don't forget hashtags. Incorporate relevant, specific, and short hashtags into your content's copy to increase engagement with followers, build your brand, and also add context to posts and help your desired target audience find you if they're searching for content on social through hashtags. But it is also important to note that more isn't always better, so be intentional with the ones that you choose. And that is all I have for guidance around social media strategy for student recruitment. So I'll pass it back to you, Cassandra, for questions.
This has been great. So thanks so much, Shauna and Mary, for those insights. And I know that as all of us have hopefully made a transition to the virtual world, thinking about things differently, especially from recruiting and other functions, has been top of mind for many of us. So can you guys tell me, I guess, a little bit about some of the challenges or hiccups along the way in order to get to these successes that you guys have experienced, and how did you guys overcome those things?
Yeah, I can speak to my section, Mary, if you think of anything from social, since you picked up the baton there. I mean, I think a lot of it is challenges are always like adoption, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. So, like with the school marketing kits, it is so amazing when someone just gives you content to send out there. It's a lot easier for you to do. So we've seen adoption, but in the first year, it was still a lot of like um, us encouraging our schools to send that newsletter out with us in it or post something like reminding their teams. Whereas this past year, we saw them doing it on their own, and they are actually now asking us for, like, if we're not getting the social media kit or the social marketing kit, oh man, school marketing kit to them in time, they ask for it. Like I'm getting emails then from a school person or from one of our, educator partnerships managers being like, when is that marketing kit going to get to our schools? Because they want it. So I think adoption is a challenge across the board. I mean, even with Gen Z, right? Like checking your email is hard, which is why we also send text messages because they are on their phones in text message a lot more. So I think that has just been the main challenge is just getting adoption from those kind of tools that I talked about at the beginning. Mary, do you have anything kind of to add to that question from the social side?
Yeah, I think what can kind of be challenging with social media sometimes is ensuring that you have apprentice presence enough on your feeds. And so we've kind of had we're working through building out what is going to be a group of social media influencers for us on their personal feeds to attract an even wider audience of Gen Z. So it can be challenging to kind of identify and recruit like who are going to be the students that we want to be those ambassadors for us on social. But we essentially have tackled that just by laying it out as a job description and that they're essentially applying for a job because they will be paid ambassadors. Um, so yeah, it can be overwhelming, but once you kind of dip your toes into it and start, it'll get easier and you'll learn as you go along the way.
Mhm.
I think you guys alluded to some really good points, and it's really about how we look at engagement as a continuum and something that builds over time. And so you may start now, but may not see the benefits until later down the road. But then at the same time, is that sometimes that student voice is the most booming voice in the room for the engagement piece. So there's a question in the chat box, and I'll turn over to Andrea because I see she has a question. I see her face, that smile there. So there's a question in the chat box that says, what is a social media takeover? So can you explain that a little further?
Yeah, so a social media takeover is essentially a form of influencer marketing. So, again, it could happen on, for an example, an apprentice's personal channels or your intermediaries' social media platforms. But you utilize the stories feature usually on Instagram, but again, it could happen on Snapchat or TikTok. And you essentially post, it usually happens throughout the course of one day real-time video of you doing your apprenticeship and answering questions. And it's really kind of used as a like behind the scenes tool to really create more of that transparency about what the apprenticeship experience is like. But it's essentially, in terms of the content itself, just a series of short videos posted to the stories feature on a social media platform.
Hi, Mary and Shauna. This is super helpful. Thank you for for sharing this. So I'm going to openly admit that most social media makes me want to lay down and put a cool washcloth on my forehead. It's super overwhelming, and I'm not entirely sure it's always completely healthy. Is there a balance between the social media engagement and in-person engagement, particularly as we come, hopefully, knock on wood, out of this COVID environment? Is there a balance there that we can start to reach about how we connect with young people in real life?
Yeah,
Just
Mary,
thoughts on that.
I can take this one, Mary. If you have thoughts too, please chime in too. Yeah, I think we're seeing that a little bit this year, right? Like as things are opening up more and schools are open, they're not fully virtual anymore. We are seeing us being able to get back into the school. And so the one thing I will say though, that like the virtual, like those virtual calendar invites that people can come to, and social media, and like these school marketing kits and the emails and text messages, like what they do now that we didn't, like, even if we went fully personal again and we're like only back in schools, all of that stuff is still awesome. And also it's super supportive. Like it's pushing the needle when, as a nonprofit, we don't have capacity or money to have like 10 student recruiters out in the world trying to make it happen. But with the virtual pieces, they become supportive. So this year, as we're seeing like our Dave's, like Dave is he's a education partnerships manager, and Erica, as they're getting back out into schools, as there's career fairs that are happening and things like that, they're talking to students, making that connection. A student is creating the profile, and then on the marketing side, those students are getting more reminders from us now, so that Dave doesn't have to pick up the phone every single time and be like, "Hey, Joe, I met you at this event. Are you going to finish that profile?" Like he's not having to keep track of that. So we, as a marketing team, with this like smart virtual side of things that we created, have really opened up capacity for the education partnerships team to do what they do best, which is that one-to-one, that personal, calling to certain people that they need to, or being in the schools at a career fair and selling apprenticeship that way. We've really opened up that capacity for them, I think, by partnering those things hand in hand now.
So it's really a way to scale,
Yeah,
truly. Okay. I mean,
truly,
that's
yes.
a healthy way to look at it. So I think that I think that there is a generational divide.
Hmm.
And I think part of the challenge is when you are coming from an institution, let's say if you're coming from a community college, they may not have a they may have a TikTok account, they may not have a TikTok account, they may have an Instagram account, but the young person may not be connected to that community college's Instagram account. So like for those of us for whom this is not necessarily our day-to-day lives, what is a good way of getting in front of young people if we're not constantly saturating social media with our posts? Like, is there a shortcut?
I
Like
mean,
if you're
I would
not,
say,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, I think text message has been very beneficial for us if they do not use social media regularly. I think that is a great tool because yes, they do check their email, but they are always on their phones, and so they will see a text message sooner than they'll probably see an email. So I think that has been really beneficial for us.
Yeah, and any like we use Marketing Cloud because it's attached to Salesforce, and we use Salesforce, and that's where all our data is. But I would say like any of your marketing platforms, newsletter platforms probably have a texting option on there. Plus, there's also, I don't know how many of you maybe have used this in the past, but there's another technology called Remind that you can send text messages. So it's not just like your cell phone sending the text message, but it's like another way to do it. And you can mass text with them getting it individually and not like on a max text. So there's so many text messaging tools out there that if you can get a student's like phone number, that's probably the best way to do it.
That sounds great. I want to make sure we have any space for additional questions, thoughts. You can put them in the chat box or just speak them up right now.
Okay, this is Scott. I'm going to ask this question because it's killing me. I work mostly with manufacturers. They're all a bunch of old geezers like me. They don't have anybody that knows how to do this stuff. I met up with I was talking to some kids down in Moultrie, Georgia, about how does a lumber mill reach youth like you? And they're like, make a TikTok to make the job look fun. How do you make a TikTok to make a manufacturing job look fun when you're just old people? I do you have to go out and hire somebody who's young to do this? And or are there
No.
resources to go to? I mean, what's the story?
Yeah, I mean, I think use what you got, right? Like, I was just doing filming this last week at some manufacturers in Colorado, and the guys there were older that were working with this young apprentice, and they make it look awesome. They make the job look super fun. So I don't think you have to get a youth necessarily to be in the TikTok. I think you all could do it too, Mary.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that TikTok is just a Gen Z platform. There's people of all ages on TikTok. And there's lots of YouTube videos and Hootsuite and Sprout Social, the social media management platforms, they have great free to access blog posts on how to step by step create content like that, because it can seem a little overwhelming to open up TikTok and figure out what to do first if you're brand new to it. So I would definitely tap into those kind of free resources. And yeah, don't feel like age is a barrier in using the platform. There are people of all ages on TikTok.
And I would
Absolutely.
say one thing like to Gen Z in manufacturing that we've found is showing the machines and like that cool stuff. That is what they're super attracted to. Like Gen Z loves technology, loves like anything like that. So actually showing how the machines work, if you can do that, I know some of that stuff you can't show, but that is a really good way to recruit Gen Z to manufacturing jobs.
Well, thank you, Shauna and Mary. I truly appreciate your insight. Things are percolating, and I want to figure out these next steps. So, for all those of you on the phone still, please you note that this recording will be on the Youth Apprenticeship Works Community of Practice site. If you were interested in joining that, please go ahead and reach out to Cassandra whenever you can. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.